Hello there, this is Maria Rebecki with College Services at College Success Foundation. This is blog number 1, and today we're going to cover how to find out if you have enough money to pay for college. The objectives for today include helping you understand the costs of college, calculate if you have enough money, understand how your financial aid will be disbursed to you, and learn strategies you can use when you find yourself short on money. Understanding all of the items included in the cost of college is very important. One common mistake is to only consider tuition and fees. Why is this a mistake? Because you need to ensure you have enough financial aid or individual resources to pay for all expenses, not just tuition and fees. The cost of attendance, as you will see in the next slides, and financial aid websites is a term commonly used to refer to your annual budget, and it includes tuition and fees, room and board, books and supplies, transportation, and personal expenses such as laundry, toiletries, the occasional outing with your friends, or clothing you may need to purchase. This budget is developed by your financial aid office and takes into consideration if you're living on-campus housing, off-campus with family or roommates, if you're commuting, if you're an in-state or out-of-state resident, if you're attending full-time or less than full-time. By considering all expenses, you will have a realistic idea of the funds you will need to pay and not run the risk of owing a balance to your school. Now that we've learned what goes into the cost of attendance, let's explore how financial aid is prioritized. What we mean by this is that the financial aid offered to you by your school will first be applied to direct costs. Direct costs are those expenses or budget items that are charged by your school, like tuition, fees, room, and board. In other words, your school will pay itself first. As opposed to direct costs, part of your cost of attendance includes indirect costs. Indirect costs are expenses you will also have, but that you will not pay to the school directly. For example, books and supplies, even if you purchase them at your school's bookstore. Transportation, toiletries, laundry, entertainment. In the best case scenario, you receive enough financial aid that after it paying for your direct costs, you have funds left over and reimbursed to you. We will explain this concept in detail in the next few slides. So in this section, we're going to talk about how to calculate if you have enough money. As a reminder, the cost of attendance, or COA, it's the budget that the financial aid office develops to determine how much money you're going to need, right? So the total cost of attendance is the amount of money that you will need in order to attend a whole year. So the financial aid office uses this formula: cost of attendance minus EFC, which is the estimated family contribution, which I'll explain in a minute, equals the amount of need that a student has in order to pay for that full year. The EFC is the estimated family contribution, and it's an amount expected from the student and family based on completing a FAFSA or a WASFA. I will remind you that when you complete either one of these forms, you are asked about family income, assets, number of family members in the household, number of family members in the household attending college, the parent's age, and much more, and all this information is plugged into a formula that results in the EFC. This EFC is used across the United States in all colleges and universities as a way to be fair and consistent in the awarding of aid. What do I mean by that? This EFC will tell a financial aid office what type of aid and what amount the student qualifies to receive. So this EFC will not vary depending on what school you attend. This EFC will follow you to any school you attend. What may vary is the cost of attendance from school to school. So in this formula, cost of attendance minus EFC gives us the actual need that this student has. In this particular example, the cost of attendance for this student is $27,638. This student's family contribution is $1,000. What this means is that the difference between cost and EFC is $26,638. And this is the maximum aid that a student may be awarded or receive from the financial aid office. Now, this includes aid coming from the federal government, state government, the institution the student is attending, so your college or university, and any external aid the student may have secured, like a private scholarship. So all that aid is put together to fill that gap. Let's continue calculating if you have enough money. Now remember when we were talking about direct cost versus indirect cost? I want to continue with the example from the previous slide. In this case, the student has a direct cost that amounts to $24,000. The tuition and mandatory fees equals $11,207, and the on-campus room and board is $12,798. Please note that sometimes living on campus can be even more expensive than just tuition and fees. We're going to pick up this conversation a little bit later. In this student case, the indirect costs total $3,600 pretty much. And this is broken down between books of $900, transportation of about $468, and personal expenses of $2,265. Do you remember a few slides back when we mentioned that a common mistake was not to look at other expenses other than tuition and fees? So as you can see, indirect costs are commonly forgotten when budgeting for the year, and as you can see, they are very much a part of the expenses you're going to have. In this case, $3,633. That is a lot of money not to take into consideration. Now that we have established what the cost of attendance for the student is, let's look at the financial aid award letter offer the student received from the school. As you can see, the student has received considerable free aid. Grant aid is pretty much free aid that a student may receive and may see in their financial aid award letter. This can be federal, state, or institutional grant, meaning the funding comes from one of those three sources. Scholarships, such as your Leadership 1000 scholarship, will also fall into this category, even if it comes from an external source to your institution. Next is work study. Work study is on-campus employment. Please remember that this is money that you have to earn. It doesn't come freely and easily as a grant. You will have to find an on-campus job, you will have to work your hours, and then you will receive your paycheck every 2 weeks. You can use this money to pay for your indirect costs, like books and living expenses. Next come student loans. Loans are certainly not grant aid. This is money that you borrow and you'll have to repay. Please note the subsidized loan offered in this financial aid award letter. If you're going to take out any loans, subsidized is the best choice because it's interest-free while you're in school, and then it remains low interest rate while you're in repayment. It's really the best option, although there are many. You will be able to find a separate blog on loans if you're interested in learning more. So question, does this student have unmet need? Does this student have a gap? Yes, the student does. Why? Because the student and their family have an EFC of $1,000. So remember the formula. Cost of attendance minus EFC is the award that the student is receiving. So this student has a $1,000 gap between cost and all the financial aid offered, and the student will have to come up with that difference. So when you're thinking of out-of-pocket expense, you need to think of your EFC, your loans, and work study you may be taking. Why do we call them out-of-pocket expenses? Because unlike grants, they will all require you to use savings, work, or pay back these funds. And remember, if you decide to take out loans, complete the master promissory note and entrance counseling online. Learn about the different repayment options if taking out loans and features like grace period, deferment, and forbearance. And again, you will be able to find a separate blog just on loans. So another way to calculate if you have enough money, and looking at the formula we looked at previously, is to start with your cost of attendance minus all of your grant aid or all of your free money, and the difference is the unmet need or the out-of-pocket expenses. In this case, we said that the cost of attendance for this student was $20,638 minus $20,190 in grant aid, that is grant and scholarships. The difference is $7,448. This amount will have to be filled with work-study earnings, good loans like the subsidized student loan, savings, and additional scholarships. Or the other way to reduce this unmet need is to find ways to reduce your cost of attendance. We're going to look at this in the next couple of slides, but please make sure you consider your unmet need as always one that will require additional work on your part. In this section, we're going to look at how your financial aid money is disbursed. So your financial aid is divided in equal amounts each term. Remember, tuition and fees, room and board get paid first. Those are your direct costs. The money left over, if any, is then disbursed to you. So it's very important that you learn to budget that refund amount, because that's all the money you'll have coming over. So let's look at the same student we've been working through this presentation. The total financial aid this student is receiving for each term is $8,879. And please know that we have added work-study earnings and loans to this total amount. So now that we know how much the student is receiving each term, we are going to subtract the direct costs for that term. In this case, it's $8,000, meaning the student is going to receive $878 in the form of a refund check at the beginning of each term. What you need to remember is that that refund is all the money you're going to get, and it should last you for the whole quarter. You will use this money to buy your books, to pay for transportation, and any other personal expenses you may have. So it's very important that you budget. It's very important that you ration out your money for the term and adjust your living expenses, like skipping the daily latte or making your own food. Just to put things in perspective, this $878 refund for the term equals to $292 per month, and we're not even taking into consideration the $300 per quarter that you will need to buy your books. So again, we can't emphasize enough the importance of budgeting and looking at your expenses and looking for areas where you can reduce your costs. In this last section, we're going to talk about what to do if you don't have enough financial aid. There are a few things that you can do. One is try to find additional financial aid. The other one is look for areas in your cost of attendance that you can reduce. So getting more financial aid. One of the things that you can do is submit a financial aid appeal to your financial aid office in case you and your family may have experienced changes in income or expenses. What do we mean by that? Somebody in your family may have lost their job, or their hours at work may have been reduced, so reducing the overall income. On the other hand, Expenses, unusual expenses, may have happened during the past year, such as a car breaking down and needing repair, a computer dying and needing to replace it, medical expenses for a family member. In these cases, the financial aid office will accept an appeal from you and your family and revise your cost of attendance or the financial aid that they have offered you. So that's one strategy. The other one is researching for additional scholarship opportunities. I would start with your school, so the financial aid office, the admissions office, if this is your first year, or the department under which your major falls under. So for example, as a sociology major, I may go to the social sciences department to see if they have any financial aid or scholarships available to students in that particular major. We're also including in this presentation some websites that we have vetted and we trust to have good sources of financial aid. Please remember that when you're searching for external scholarships, you should never, ever pay anybody to do the search for you. If they're asking you for money to do the search for you, is probably a scam. The other strategy you can employ is looking at your cost of attendance and finding areas or ways where you can reduce your cost. We will have a separate blog on reducing your expenses, but some things that you may consider is reducing the cost of living on campus or transportation or personal expenses. This concludes our presentation today on making sure that you have enough money to pay for college. We hope that this has not been too confusing. We understand that financial aid can be a foreign language that you will not master with just one presentation. It's complex, and that's why College Success Foundation is here to help you navigate its complexity. Please feel free to email your questions or comments to csfscholar@collegesuccessfoundation.org. We'll be happy to help you and guide you with your individual needs. Good luck!